Hey everyone, welcome back to Creative Ops, the show where we decode how tech actually works behind the scenes. Today's episode is for every founder who's finally launched their app and is wondering, wait, why aren't things taking off? You built the thing, it works, maybe you even got a few users poking around, but now what? Munir, thanks for joining us again. You and I see this all the time. Launching an MVP is not the finish line, it's barely the starting gate.
Yeah, exactly. First of all, thank you for having me again, Tucker. Yeah, I think in most cases the app that you built might work, but that doesn't mean it's a business. I mean, I've seen so many builders get stuck here. Like they're really good at initiating, taking the first step, shipping their first chunk of code, but they haven't built the engine that keeps user coming back or the engine that would pay their bills. So today, hopefully, in this episode, we're going to break down what actually makes the leap from an app to a SaaS business. And that's for sure, that's not just adding more features.
Yeah, I feel this is more of a mindset thing, right? Like people hit deploy and think, all right, I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, in most cases, founders, they get that they feel high from shipping their first chunk of code. Again, like you shipped something, you deployed something to production, then you must now have a business, right? But that's not real progress. I mean, that's a huge trap for founders. After you launch, there is a lot of stuff that needs to be in place to attract more customers, to retain the customers that you have. Like, for example, do you have an onboarding? Do you have a retention plan? Um, do you have a working billing logic, right? So if you don't have all of those systems, you would see that people start bouncing off your platform. And what most founders do in this situation, what did you think, Tucker?
Well, I
They
just want to add shiny things to attract the people back, right?
Yeah, exactly. They think that let's add more features. Let's have bigger launches. Let's start a bigger marketing campaign. Okay, but in reality, what they need is more systems in place.
So you're saying it's kind of like opening a restaurant and you got great food, but you're forgetting the menus and the staff or even where the cash register is.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You have the greatest kitchen of all restaurants, but there is no way for your customers to experience the food that you're offering or even pay for it.
All right, so let's talk about what does make a SaaS and what are the core systems that turn a project into a business.
That's okay. This is really gonna be boring and it's super unsexy, you
I
know?
think everything in tech is sexy, Munir.
No, I don't think, except for this part. So I think there are a lot of systems that you need to have as a founder in your business to make it an actual SaaS business. But there are six main things that you need to keep in mind that you need to hit correctly in order for you to really sell. So, in shortly, I think you need to have an onboarding process that is attractive. You need to have a clear pricing strategy. You need to have billing and some really good user management.
Wait, hold on, slow down. I'm trying to make notes here. This is good, some good stuff.
All right, all right. I think yeah. Okay, so onboarding, pricing, billing. I think you need to have some really good analytics, which eventually leads to better retention. You need to have really good support and some really good feedback loops and cycles. And finally, you need scalability, infrastructure and DevOps scalability. So those are the main, I think, six pillars that you need to hit correctly in order for your app to be actually called a SaaS.
Okay, that's good. That's a good list. Kind of get us started. So let's get in a bit deeper. So you said onboarding was the first one.
Yeah,
This huge, right? Most MVPs don't even bother with this, right?
yeah, yeah. But I mean, onboarding it's essential to your business. It means that how do you activate people? Okay, it what translates a functional product into a usable experience. You know, like if user doesn't understand how to reach to value in your app in your business in the first 5 minutes, they're gone. They're just gonna bounce back. Okay, like you need some simple things like tooltips, I don't know, checklists, A welcome email where you can explain to your customer uh, how to use the platform, how to get value out of the platform immediately.
Okay.
So I think I can give you an actual use case scenario that we work with. So we work with the B2B task management tool. So, the market is actually saturated with those tools. Uh, we actually had a lot of users signing up, but they weren't creating any tasks, and they were bouncing really fast from the platform. What we end up doing is we added a three-step guide at the beginning. Once you first log into the platform, we just offered you a three-step interactive guide of how to use the platform, how to create your first task, and that actually our activation rates of users went from 25-30% to 70-75%. So that's a huge leap.
Okay. I think I ran into this myself the other day. I signed up for this networking thing and logged in for the first time, and it was supposed to be networking meetings, and it just wasn't really intuitive and didn't really make sense. So I haven't used it, and they keep emailing me, but they haven't explained to me how I need to actually get to how to put it into use. So I'm just not going to use it.
That's the worst part as well. I mean, following up with emails. You have even some intrusive marketing strategies in some companies, like they message you on WhatsApp if you've added a phone number in your registration. They send you customized email. They use those techniques of, why aren't you going back to us? Please let us help you out. But you could have sorted this out with one simple onboarding, one simple guide at the beginning of using that platform, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So second on your list was pricing. So pricing always freaks people out, right?
Yep, yep, I agree with you because, yeah, again, once you created the product, then you need to price it. What is your sweetest spot of pricing it? How do you price it? There are a lot of pricing models and strategies that we have here. Do we have only free accounts and then one price fits all for everyone? Do we have tiers of prices? How much should we charge our customers? So all of those questions really define your pricing strategy. But what I can tell my founders is that it doesn't need to be perfect from your first shot. Okay. I think a pricing strategy is a learning curve. So you do your research, you do your homework, understand what's your targeted audience. Are you going to be targeting audience with who can pay $20 a month, or your price cap should be $5 a month? Once you decide that, you set your strategy, you launch it, and then you need to monitor. You see what's happening. Okay. Like, for example, one founder that we worked with, they offered unlimited users for $15 a month for a service that they were selling. So what they thought initially, that okay, that's a great amount. We could cover our expenses, and we would also have some really nice profit margin of that. But they didn't know that their biggest customers were going to abuse it. Okay, so they had customer sign up, and instead of having 10, 15 users, they had 1,000 users. But the offer that you gave them is unlimited users for $15 a month. So yeah, what happened is their costs, it I think almost doubled. They were losing money. What they did was really, really straightforward. They just switched to usage tiers. So instead of having unlimited users for $15 a month, they now have tiers starting from $5 a month to $150 a month. What ended up happening is their revenue doubled, I think, in a couple of months after switching to this new strategy. And what's more important is their infrastructure costs went down really well, because now as a customer that you will be paying for the amount of user that you're using, so you're not going to abuse it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the end of the day, really, it's not really about greed, right? When you're pricing, it's about clarity and sustainability, encouraging the behavior that you want to enact at the end of the day from your customers.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better than you, Tucker. You always nail the yeah.
I try, I try. Okay, so next on your list was billing and management. So most founders regarding billing and management, they're using Stripe as far as I know, and they think once it's plugged in, they're done, right? Give me some more info on that.
Yeah. So like Stripe is great. Let's start with that. Okay. But I'm not against Stripe. We use Stripe in a lot of the systems that we build. But raw Stripe isn't SaaS ready. Okay. You need to understand that. So you need plans. You need, for example, upgrades, downgrades. You need to have flows when payment fail. Okay. You need to include your taxation logic. Okay. Uh, how to generate the invoices, how to manage your team accounts. Okay. That's what makes a platform a platform. Okay. So it's not just let's implement Stripe and see how things are going. Okay. So and that's really important because for every customer that you create, the billing system, as I mentioned, would be a deciding factor of retaining them or losing them, even on the short term. Like if for some reason they decided to downgrade, okay, I'm using a paid tier, but I want to downgrade to a free tier. Do you have that logic ready? Do you have that customer management ready? If you don't, then this customer would eventually cancel their subscription and just bounce off your platform. Or the other way around. I'm using a specific tier and I want to upgrade. You have that. I've updated halfway through the month. How are you going to be handling that payment? Uh, Tax compliance. I think that's really important, especially in the countries that have some complex taxation strategies. Like, how are you going to be handling that? Are you taking payments off onwards, or are you taking payments at the end of the month? So all of those decisions really affect your business and your relationship with your customers, managing them. Uh,
That tax compliance really comes into play with,
yeah, I
know
mean,
what I know what tax compliance is for the UK and for the US specifically. But if we want to do business in Germany, I have no idea where to even start with tax
yeah,
compliance there.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And you really need to think that through before you launch your product. Again, we're talking about SaaS, and usually SaaS systems are not geo-fenced. You don't launch your product for only customers in the UK. I mean, what if someone from another country just joined in? How are we going to be handling them? So you need to think that through before you call your app a SaaS platform. That's the short answer. And to give you a context, I think we also had a client. Uh, it was so they had users that for to change a plan of them, they didn't have a system in place. They didn't have a logic in place for a user to change their plan, upgrade or downgrade. So you would have to actually email the support team, okay, and then the support team would handle your request. They would send you another invoice. They would send you a secure link for payment. The it was all over the place. The logic was messy. Of course, we have added a billing engine to the platform that they were doing. So customers were able to actually upgrade and downgrade. So, and they would be able to actually either pay the difference if they're upgrading or just cut back and get a refund of the remaining amount if they want to downgrade. That actually saved these customers hours of uh, manpower monthly, which led to customer support focusing on the actual issues of the platform, supporting people through using the platform rather than just handling upgrades, downgrades, sending new invoices, generating them. And in addition to that, that also, that generates more revenue and cut the costs. So you need to, I think this is one of the most complex pillars of what we're talking about, billing and user retention.
Yeah, I think that example like really helps illustrate the issue. I can definitely picture in my mind ways that business could be better, and for my own businesses that I'm involved with, also for places that I'm a user. So I can definitely see the value there. Okay. Also, I've seen a bunch of people just kind of plug in Google Analytics and then they just say go for it, right? What are your thoughts
Yeah,
there?
you have analytics. You just need Google Analytics, right? No,
Absolutely.
that's wrong. I mean, again, Google Analytics is a great tool. We use it. You have to use it in each one of your apps, but that's not enough. That's not the case, okay? Because Google Analytics, you like in the essence of it, it just shows you traffic. Okay, it doesn't explain behavior to you. You don't understand the behavior of your customers, of your visitors using only Google traffic. So what you want is a product analytics tool. There are a lot of tools in the market where you can just also plugging it in is really easy, straightforward. Uh, those analytics tools, they can explain to you, they can tell you exactly what features are people using. Uh, where are your people? Where are your customers are wasting time? Like where are they getting stuck? Okay, so they try, for example, they're trying to create a task, and then they're finding a hard time finding, I don't know, a save button, okay, how to upload a file. All of those analytical tools, they create heat maps, they can analyze the behavior of your customer. And that would really help you out. First, improve on your platform. And second, retain those customers. Like the goal is if my clients are having a hard time doing a task, running a task, in my opinion, this should take only 2 seconds. And if the client is stuck there for 30 seconds, then we should do something. We should update the user experience. We should, I don't know, minimize the steps, add more guides. But how do you understand, how do you get that feedback is that by implementing some really good analytics in your SaaS platform. Okay. And
Get back to earlier in the conversation when we were talking about the onboarding. So using the Google Analytics and then also other analytics tools, but not just setting and forgetting, but actually implementing them and using them could help you identify where your failures are in onboarding and where you need to improve, so you can constantly improve and grow. Correct?
yeah, correct. Yeah, I can agree more with you on this. Like this is one great use case scenario on onboarding. You need to understand where people are getting stuck, where people are wasting a lot of time, because you as a business owner or as a developer even working on a product, you are blinded but by what you're building. Okay, you cannot judge it correctly because I mean you've been working on this for months now. You wouldn't get the sense of where people would stuck. You're a power user of what you create,
Yeah, everything
in
I
this
do,
concept.
beautiful and perfect.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not the case. I mean, you
I'm
have
the same
actual
one.
users. Not everyone is on the same level of tech knowledge. Like you cannot judge your own product. You need to have actual real people testing it and seeing where they get stuck. In today's world, you cannot do that by, I don't know, inviting 10 people to your office and sitting them on computers. Please go through it. Let's see how do you onboard, how do you sign up, how do you use the product. That's not the case, right? For this, you have those analytical tools that would give the same sense, the same experience of inviting people and monitoring them, seeing where exactly they're getting stuck and where things are going smoothly as planned. You definitely need to implement analytical tools, especially at the beginning of when you first launch. Like we don't also there's also a sweet spot here. You don't need to implement the analytical tool indefinitely. Okay, we usually do that when we launch for let's say 3 or 6 months to understand the client's behaviors, and then we disable those tools. If we release a new feature, we enable analytics and monitoring for this specific feature to understand how people use it, because there is a cavity for analytics plugins and tools. They affect your performance, the platform performance. So you also need not to abuse them. You don't need to just, as you said, just run it and forget about it for 4 years. That would cost you processing power, and you don't need to analyze the behavior of people for a year. Again, after launch, 3 6 months, I think that's more than enough. Or if you're releasing a new feature, that would be amazing. I can also give a quick example, a short sample of what we did here. So we had one founder that discovered that their users weren't able to export files from the platform that they were offering them, which actually was one of the core features, one of the core added values that they were offering their clients. So what we ended up doing is we added a simple tooltip. We sent a follow-up email to all the customers that if you want to export the report that you have, you need to click here, do that, and voila. So what happened is the usage of this export functionality almost instantly doubled. Okay, and what we ended up calculating is I think that we have cut their churn rate by almost 20-25%. Because can you imagine just a simple export option that is not clear to customers would cost you 20-25% of your clients bouncing off your platform.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, I think just this whole conversation has just inspired me. I think I need to go and get the analytics passwords for our site and our system and take
Yeah.
a look at it and dive in
Yeah,
and
yeah,
out,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
from
yeah. I
there.
think, yeah.
All right, cool. So you also listed support and feedback. I, personally, I think of support and feedback as maybe a thing that I would do reaction from a reactionary standpoint. Otherwise, it sounds like a bunch of unnecessary overhead. So, what are your thoughts there?
Um, I, yeah, it might be like this in the old days, but in today's world, I think one person with the right setup would be enough to start with. Okay. I'm not talking about large platforms, but if you're starting your business, having one person for support and feedback with the right setup, with the right apps, with the right widgets, I think that would be enough. For example, if you set up your in-app chat, if you have a feedback widget, and yeah, I think one person would be more than enough for responses, and that would really make wonders. Okay. Again, I'm talking about the first stages, not later on when you have 100,000 active customers, then you definitely need more people. But still, I think it all boils down to the widgets and apps that you're using. Are you utilizing AI in your support and feedback loops or not? Because right now, everyone is using chatbots. Why won't you use chatbots? That would really ease off, relieve your support team from almost 25-30% of unnecessary interactions. AI can sort that out straight out of the door. So you need to really build some active and AI integrated support and feedback strategy that would really be essential for your business. Again, as a quick sample of this. So we have a startup that had almost 20% churn rate. Okay, we sent out a survey. The survey showed that users thought that the app lacked some kind of integrations. Okay, a couple of integrations. So, but the app actually didn't lack those integrations. Okay, those users just missed it. Okay, so we weren't getting some really good feedback. They were asking our support team, and the support team didn't know that this specific feature existed or how to actually present that feature for the people, for the customers. What we ended up doing is we actually created a chatbot that easily can understand all the features of the platform, answer all of those day-to-day user questions, how to do this, how to do that, how to achieve this, how to achieve that. And that would even collect some feedback from the customers and analyze that their tone, their messages, and it calculated how satisfied are they with our platform. And that ended up dropping the churn rate from 20% to less than 10%.
I mean, that's a 50% reduction in churn. That's pretty significant. Yeah, I think that, support and feedback. I know that everybody I deal with wants instantaneous answers, and speed to service is a huge portion of what I do in sales and that sort of thing. So I can definitely see that, you know, being responsive is how you retain customers and build trust over time. So that's really intuitive. Um, okay, so last on your list here, is probably the most sexy was infrastructure. So
Yeah.
let's get into that.
Yeah, infrastructure and DevOps, actually. I know those are two technical terms, but yeah, like you built your app, you shipped it, you deployed it to production, and the moment that you have real users and real use cases, you have a couple of hundred of users hitting your platform at the same time, your infrastructure matters. Okay, are you implementing CI/CD pipelines? Do you have backup strategy? Um, do you have uptime alerts? Like those aren't extras for real businesses. Okay, for normal apps, if you're doing a demo, if you're doing a proof of concept, that's okay. You don't need those. But once you get some traction, then all of those really matters. Like we had a client who launched their SaaS. They were super lucky. They just wrote a couple of articles, read it, Quora, Hacker News, and their page on Hacker News, it just got traction. It's exploded. So they ended up having a couple of thousands of new customers, and they went down for almost, I think, 1.5 days, 2 days. Can you imagine getting traction, like really exploding, and then out of a sudden you're out of business? Why? Well, because our infrastructure wasn't built for this amount of customers, this amount of active connections at the same time. That's really brutal, but I mean, this is something that you need to think of and you need to be prepared for. You need to set up your auto scaling. So first of all, you need to choose your hosting environment carefully. If you're building SaaS, then definitely you shouldn't go for a VPS. Okay, you shouldn't go for a $10 hosting a month. You need to utilize the cloud environments that you have. That's for a starter. And then you need to set up, for example, auto scaling. You don't need to be on top of your infrastructure all the time. So you set up auto scaling. Once you hit that 80%, 90% threshold, the cloud service provider would then spin in another machine, another service, and start serving your clients. And then that also, I don't want to go technical here, but there are a lot of things that you need to take care of, like storage, content delivery networks. So once you get your next traffic spike, you need to be 100% live. Okay, that's the bottom line of it. Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like they're a victim of their own success. It's a problem I'd like to have in some of the ventures that I've been involved with. But yeah, a problem nonetheless. Capitalizing and making sure that you don't run into those issues is important. So, I mean, that was quite a comprehensive list. I really appreciate that insight. Circling back to the beginning, so what is the actual mindset shift that founders really need to make?
Uh, Okay, that's a great question, I think. I think as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you need to move from, oh, I'm building a cool thing, to I'm delivering value, and I'm delivering value sustainably and repeatedly. Okay. It's not just enough to have that really good idea, that cool idea that will change the world, that will change the way that we use this service, that we do that business. We need to, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you need to deliver value, and you need to do that repeatedly all the time. You cannot just say, oh, we started doing it right now, but we cannot handle more than 1,000 concrete users at a time. So that's really important. Every system that we talked about so far maps to an outcome. Okay, like for example, onboarding, that's activation. Pricing, that means conversion, and that means revenue. Billing and customer management, that's revenue. And then you have retention. So features are great. Okay, they're amazing, but they don't keep your customers and they don't attract your new customers. Systems that runs the business are the ones that actually attracts more customers and keep your customers here.
Again, you're saying that SaaS isn't just about code. It's really about outcomes, like predictable, scalable, and value-driven outcomes, correct?
Yep, yeah, that's totally correct.
Okay, so we're running low on time here again, which is another good problem to have. But if someone's listening and just launched their MVP, what's their very next step?
Seriously, just stop coding for a bit, take a deep breath, watch how your users behave, how your customers behave, where they get stuck, and where and when they are leaving your platform. Then start building a system that fixes those things.
And if somebody's feeling stuck,
Uh, get help. I mean, this is what we do here in Penta Creative from day-to-day basis. So we help people turn their products into businesses. If you have any questions, if you need any help, you can hit me up directly on LinkedIn, or you can head to our pentacreative.co.uk/contact, leave us a message, and we'll get back to you on that.
awesome. I love it. Thank you, Munir. And if this episode has hit home for you, hit follow, leave us a review, or send it to a friend that's just shipped their MVP and has no clue what to do next. Have a great day. Thank you.